This is what your work should look like after you finish your 10 rows of one single crochet in every stitch. You should have a nice cup-like bowl. Now we're going to make the hair. You can go ahead and remove the yarn marker and just leave a large loop. We're going to come back to closing the head later after we finish sewing on the hair. Go ahead and choose whatever yarn that you want for your hair. For one of my dolls, I used this blue, pretty blue yarn. And this is what it looks like after I made the scalp and then put some hair on. So for my other doll, I'm going to use a pink, red hard pink yarn. And this color is Pretty in Pink by Red Heart. Go ahead and place whatever color yarn that you're using onto your tapestry needle for sewing. Then just make sure that the loop where you finished off is towards the back of the head. Take your tapestry needle, come up from the wrong side, and come up about 15 rows up. Here's the center of the magic circle. And from the magic circle, you go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to trace the scalp around the head. So the next thing that I did was I just took a yarn marker and about 14 stitches over and 5 rows up I placed one yarn marker, and then 14 stitches over and 5 rows up I placed my other yarn marker. So the ears are going to go below the yarn markers. Then, after you finish doing that, then we can take the tapestry needle and just create the scalp going down towards the yarn markers. So I went a couple of rows down and about 3 stitches over. I'm going to go back down into the wrong side of the head. Then I can tie a knot on the inside. Then you're just going to continue sewing and just make sure that you don't get tangled up with the yarn on the back of the head, because you need to be able to continue back here. And if it keeps getting in the way, then you can go ahead and trim it. Just leave a large loop for when we come back, and we'll tie a knot to connect it again. Then you just take and just every couple of stitches you create the scalp outline. And I'm going towards the yarn marker. So go ahead, continue making the outline towards the yarn marker, then come back. Then once you reach the yarn marker, you can go ahead and remove it. Leave the other yarn marker in place. Now you're just going to follow the back, along the back of the head, along that row where the yarn marker was, which is 5 rows up from the bottom. And you're just going to go all the way around the back of the head until you reach the other yarn marker, and then come back. This is how my work looks so far, all around along the back. And now I'm back to the other yarn marker, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that yarn marker and then come up Then I'm going to head up towards the top of the scalp again. trying to keep it as symmetrical as possible, meaning that it looks the same on both sides. This is what my work looks like so far. Then you're ready to fill in all of the inside portion with your pink yarn. So I usually start in the center, the top of the head. Then you can go down and go about halfway, right along the edge of the scalp. And then you just proceed to fill in all of the inside of the scalp with your pink yarn. This is what my work looks like so far. And another thing you can do is just double up your yarn. So I doubled up my yarn. And then I'm just going to go back in and continue. This is what it looks like so far. Now I'm starting on the other side. And this is what it looks like so far. Now I'm going to start on the bottom portion here. This is what mine looks like so far. This is the front, and then here's the back. I'm just going to start up here and then just finish the back of the head. Now that I've finished covering all of the scalp, I am ready to make the main hair. So you're just going to get some yarn onto your tapestry needle, and you're not going to double it up, just a single strand. And then I usually start towards the bottom, so I'm just going to come up at that halfway mark and put the bottom hair first. So you just want to leave enough on the inside to tie a knot. And then you're going to make a loop. You're going to go back in about a stitch over and then create the length that you want for your hair. I want it to be fairly long for mine. So I left a long loop. Then you're just going to come back up a stitch over again. And then you're going to see if you have enough yarn to make a second loop, which I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and take the yarn off and then grab more yarn to continue making loops all the way around to the opposite side. Then continue just making your loops all of the same size. Don't worry about your long loose yarn ends, we'll trim that later. This is how mine looks after finishing all the loops along the bottom. Then before you start the top loops, you're just going to take each of the loops, just cut the end of the loop, and then just tie a knot. And then you're just going to, here's my loose yarn end, I'm going to tie a knot to that. And then I'm going to grab the next loop. And I'm just going to do this all across the bottom, all the way to the other side with each loop. So this is what mine looks like so far. And I want to have a lot of hair for my doll, so this is optional, but you can go ahead and lift up the middle layer. And then I'm going to add another bottom layer along the bottom edge of the scalp the same way. So I'm going to make my loops. Make sure you leave enough on the inside for tying a knot. And then you're going to make your loops the same way all along the bottom. And leave your loop the length of your hair or a little bit longer. So I'm just going to check the length here. And then you just make your loops all the same size, just like you did for the middle layer, all the way across to the other side. So this is what the bottom looks like after I added the bottom layer and tied all of my knots and cut the loops. And then this is what it looks like with the middle layer over it. And this is the front. So you can have a lot of fun with the hair. You can add whatever color that you want. For mine, I'm going to add a little bit of blue highlight. And so what I did was between the middle and the bottom layers, I'm going to add some blue highlight. So I just took some of my blue yarn, and then I'm going to come in from the wrong side, right in the center, between the middle layer and the bottom layer. Again, you're going to leave enough on the inside for tying a knot, and then you just make your loops. And I'm making my loop so that it goes to the bottom of the inside, or the last layer of my pink. So this loop, the length is going to be the same as that bottom layer. And then I'm just going to go and continue to make my loops all along the center between that bottom layer and the middle layer, making all of my loops the same size. And make sure that your hair doesn't get tangled as you're working. Yep, I accidentally pulled. Let me do that again. I accidentally pulled my layer through. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. And then I'm just going to make my loops all of the same size, and then cut the loop and tie a knot just like I did for my previous 2 rows of hair. This is what mine looks like after making the middle layer with blue, the blue color, and then I'm going to lay the middle layer on top. You can see how it looks. Then I'm going to finish the top layer. For the top layer, I come up through the center part of the hair with my pink yarn, or the main color for whatever color you're using for the hair of your doll. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot on the inside. I just grab one of my loose yarn ends on the inside. and then you just make your loops on one side, and we'll come back and do the loops on the opposite side. So for the top layer, you can decide what length you want. For mine, I'm going to make it long. So I'm making it about the length of the bottom portion. And then I just keep making loops all down the center part. All of the loops are the same length. And then once I've reached the end, I'm going to make a loop for the back, and then I'm going to start making the loops on the opposite side. So I'm making a loop for the back of the head, and then I'm going to come up along the side to make loops for the opposite side. This is what mine looks like after putting the hair on the top. And then for my doll, I'm going to, just like I did with the blue portion here, I'm going to make a blue portion between the top layer and the middle layer. This is what mine looks like after I'm finished. And then you can trim the bottom if you need to. And you could add as much yarn as you want to the top of the hair. This is what my other one looks like with just the blue. And you could add pink in there too if you wanted to. Now, after you finish placing all of the hair, go ahead and take your work and turn it around. We're going to tie a knot with the loose end that we cut. If you didn't cut, then you would just continue on crocheting. But I'm going to show those who cut how to tie your knot. So just get your yarn and tie a knot. Then you're just going to take your crochet hook, and you're also going to need a loose yarn end or a yarn marker. Place that right where you left off. Then you're going to make 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now you can see I'm coming up on the knot. I'm still going to crochet as if there were no knot, and then just continue making my 1 single crochet in every stitch. And then the loose yarn ends will be on the inside. After you finish 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, you're ready to sew your eyes on. And here you can see what it looks like with my doll with the blue hair after I sewed her eyes on. If you don't like to have it so close to that bottom row for the next row of crochet, then you can make 3 rows or 3 rounds of single crochet, 1 single crochet in every stitch. But just remember that if you want your eyes to look like mine and you made 3 rounds, then you would just move the eyes up 1 round to leave that one bottom row open. But if you only made 2 rounds of single crochet, then you can place your eyes or sew your eyes on now.